Welcome to the deep dive. We're diving into a topic today that's, it's sparked a lot of debate over the centuries.
Oh, absolutely.
The kingdom of heaven. We're going straight to the source, turning to the Urantia book,
Okay.
specifically paper 170,
Right.
to uncover what this phrase, kingdom of heaven, really meant to Jesus.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Because even before we get to Jesus, the idea of a kingdom of heaven, it was already, kind of a blend of different interpretations.
It's like a theological mixtape.
Exactly. A
Yeah.
theological mixtape. And before Jesus, you had the Hebrew prophets
All right.
who, they were considered the spiritual leaders, the thinkers.
Yeah.
And they had their own ideas about what this kingdom looked like.
Okay.
And then if you widen the lens even further, Persian teachings, they also had an influence.
It's more layered than I think a lot of people realize.
It's more layers.
Yeah, we're not just talking about a single definition here.
Right.
So when Jesus comes onto the scene, what makes his teachings stand out from all of these earlier ideas about the kingdom of heaven?
Well, I think what made Jesus so revolutionary is that he took these existing concepts,
Okay.
like the Hebrew idea of a kingdom that was both present and future,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
and even the Persian idea of good overcoming evil.
Yeah.
And he breathed new life into them.
Okay.
He infused them with his own unique message.
So he's like remixing this classic track,
Exactly.
adding his own verses.
Yes.
So what did this new sound, this new understanding of the kingdom of heaven, what did it actually entail?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. Because Jesus actually tried to steer people away from the word kingdom altogether.
Wait, he tried to ditch the term.
He did.
That seems counterintuitive. Why walk away from something so central to his message?
Because he was advocating for something even more radical, something even more powerful. A kingdom that wasn't about earthly power
Okay.
or politics.
It wasn't about a physical throne?
No.
Okay.
He was talking about a kingdom within.
A kingdom within.
Yes.
So we're shifting gears from external to internal.
Precisely.
This isn't about a physical place.
No, not at all.
All right.
For Jesus, the kingdom of heaven wasn't about geography
Okay.
or even some far-off event.
It's not about escaping to this other realm.
No.
Okay.
It was about a transformation that started within each person.
Okay. So I'm sensing a theme here. Personal transformation. Absolutely. It's not about, waiting for divine intervention.
Right.
Or even just following rules.
It's about a shift.
It's about cultivating that inner shift.
Yes.
Changing how we relate to God, to the divine.
Yes. Yes.
And in turn, how we treat others.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Okay, good.
Remember that famous line from Jesus, the kingdom is within you.
Oh, yeah.
That simple phrase, I think, really captures the very essence of his teachings.
Yeah.
He emphasized cultivating a deep personal connection with God
Okay.
and then letting that relationship guide our actions.
So less about outward displays of faith, more about the internal work of aligning ourselves with God's will.
Exactly. And the Urantia book, gets even more specific, outlining 5 distinct ways that Jesus used the term kingdom.
5 different facets.
5. So it wasn't just this one-size-fits-all concept.
Okay, let's make sure our listeners can really grasp these nuances.
Okay.
Can you elaborate on these 5 different ways Jesus used the term kingdom?
Of course. So the first, as we've discussed, is that personal, individual experience of connecting with the divine.
Right.
That's the foundation.
That's the core.
From there, Jesus talks about a community of believers,
Okay.
a brotherhood that emerges when people live out these principles of love and service.
So it starts with me and it expands outward to we.
Precisely.
Okay.
And this outward expression, it wasn't about trying to be good
Right.
or racking up spiritual points.
Yeah, it's not about checking boxes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Jesus saw good deeds as a natural outflow of that interconnection.
Okay.
It's like a healthy fruit tree. You don't have to force it to bear fruit.
Yeah.
It just does.
I like that analogy, that the fruit being the good deeds, it's the natural result of an inward reality.
Yes.
It feels more authentic and sustainable, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
It's not about, again, checking boxes, but
Mhm.
allowing this inner transformation to then guide our actions.
That's the beauty of it.
Okay.
It's about being, not just doing.
Okay, so we've got the personal,
Yes.
we've got the communal,
Yes.
but there's more.
There's more, because Jesus also used the term kingdom in a more universal sense,
Okay.
encompassing both the earthly and heavenly realms.
Okay.
A cosmic brotherhood, if you will,
Yeah.
that transcends the limits of time and space.
So we've got the personal, the communal, and now this cosmic dimension to the kingdom of heaven. Layers upon layers. But how did Jesus see this kingdom unfolding on earth? Was it about some sudden, dramatic takeover?
Right.
We left off talking about the kingdom of heaven as this multifaceted thing, with personal transformation and this community of believers and even like a cosmic brotherhood.
Right.
It's a lot to unpack.
It is.
But when we think about how this kingdom was going to actually happen here on earth, what did he have in mind?
Well, this is where we encounter, I think, one of the biggest misunderstandings surrounding Jesus' message.
Okay.
He did speak about a future age, a time when, God's will would be more fully realized on earth.
Okay.
A time of greater spiritual awareness, greater harmony among people.
So that kind of sounds like what a lot of people probably do imagine when they hear kingdom of heaven. Like almost like a utopia. Like, are we talking about the end of the world as we know it?
Well, and you're right. A lot of people do interpret it that way. But here's the crucial distinction.
Yeah.
I think
Right.
Jesus never explicitly tied this future transformation to his own return.
Okay.
Or the establishment of a physical kingdom on earth.
So those connections were made later.
Largely, yes. Interpretations made by his followers after his death.
And those interpretations, I imagine, probably had some pretty significant consequences down the line.
Absolutely. And, the Urantia book really highlights this, how this expectation of Jesus' imminent return
Okay.
and the full realization of the kingdom, it heavily influenced the early Christian movement.
Okay.
And when those events didn't unfold as anticipated, it led to a reinterpretation of his message, a kind of a shift in focus.
Okay, so how did the understanding of the kingdom of heaven evolve after Jesus? Like, it was the original message? Did it just get lost?
Well, think of it like a seed,
Okay.
Jesus planted this radical idea of an inner kingdom, a spiritual transformation that could spread outward.
Right.
As his followers tried to cultivate this seed, particularly in the face of persecution, changing social climates.
Sure.
The original concept, it began to take on new forms.
Okay.
New layers of interpretation were added.
And is this where we start to see the institutional church as we know it today starting to take shape?
Exactly. Because with the perceived delay of a physical kingdom,
Right.
Jesus' followers, they're grappling with disappointment. They're facing these external pressures.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out, how do we keep this going?
Exactly. They looked for ways to preserve and spread his teachings.
Okay.
They sought structure. They sought a system.
Right.
And this, as our source material points out, is the very beginning of the Christian church,
Yeah.
Developing into this social institution.
And you can see how that development, like in that time, might have been necessary.
Oh, absolutely.
Just as a way to like safeguard the essence of what Jesus was talking about during a very turbulent period.
Right.
Almost like a caterpillar forming a cocoon before it transformed.
What a great analogy. But,
But here's the thing.
Go ahead.
Just like a caterpillar can get a little too comfortable in its cocoon.
Yes.
The risk with institutionalization is that the original essence,
Yes.
in this case, that personal, heart-centered connection with God that Jesus was so emphatic about, can become overshadowed by the structure itself.
Yes.
By dogma, by rituals, by hierarchy.
100%. So by that point, are we even talking about the same thing anymore?
Mm-hmm.
Did the meaning of the kingdom of heaven as Jesus intended it, did it just get lost in translation?
Yeah. It's a good question, and we're gonna pick it up right there after a quick break.
Yeah.
It feels like we've been, like exploring a map, right? Tracing the evolution of this idea of the kingdom of heaven.
Right. Through time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But where do we go from here? Like, if it's not lost, how do we access this kingdom, this personal transformation today?
Well, the Urantia book actually offers a really intriguing perspective on this.
Okay.
It suggests that there will be a time when Jesus's original teachings on the kingdom, they're revived, and understood with fresh eyes, kind of stripped of centuries of added interpretations and dogma.
So like a fresh start, a return to the heart of Jesus's message.
Exactly.
Okay. But what does that look like, practically speaking? If we're not just waiting for some future event, how do we live as citizens of this kingdom today?
That's the heart of it, isn't it?
Right.
If the kingdom of heaven isn't a physical place,
Right.
but a state of being, how do we embody its principles in our daily lives?
Yeah.
How do we cultivate that inner connection with the divine and let it guide us? Let it inform how we interact with the world around us.
It's a call to action then. It's about taking responsibility for that inner transformation rather than waiting for someone else to to usher in some new age.
Exactly. And the Urantia book really challenges us to go beyond, just checking off good deeds.
Right.
It's not just about doing good things, right? It's about, tending to the garden within,
Okay.
cultivating the soil of our hearts so that compassionate action, it flows naturally.
It's funny you should say that because I'm thinking about that quote that we discussed earlier. The kingdom is within you.
Yes.
It suggests that this isn't something that, that we build externally. It starts with that inner shift.
Precisely. Precisely. And as we cultivate that inner shift,
Yeah.
as more individuals connect with that source of love and compassion within, it ripples outward.
Yeah.
And impacts our relationships, our communities, even the choices that we make in our daily lives.
It becomes less about building walls and more about building bridges.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. And remembering that we're all connected, that we all share in that divine spark.
Such a powerful message, especially in times that often feel so divided and uncertain. It's a message of hope, of possibility,
It is.
of agency.
Yes. And it's a journey, not a destination.
Mm.
We may not always get it right.
Right.
But the act of striving,
Right.
of cultivating that inner connection and letting it guide our actions.
Yeah.
That's what it means to truly embody the spirit of the kingdom of heaven.
That's a powerful thought to leave us with to our listeners. As you go about your week, we invite you to consider, what does it mean for you to embody the principles of the kingdom of heaven? How might you be a seed of change, a ripple of hope in the world? The answers, as always, lie within.